Stories start with Yamada being berated by his teacher for being delinquent and remarks that he should be more like model student Shiraishi Urara. Yamada storms up the stairs past Shiraishi. He slips and the two of them seem to be about to fall down the stairs. He awakens in the school medical room. But something doesn't seem right. To his horror, he has awoken in the body of Shiraishi. He barges into the classroom to find his own body controlled by Shiraishi diligently acting as the ideal student. Yamada drags his body out of class and Shiraishi informs him that, while she has no idea why they switched, all they have to do is presumably fall down the stairs again to switch back. Shiraishi refuses to do it, however, as she does not want to miss any more class from fainting again. So, Yamada will just have to wait until after class. Initially annoyed, Yamada realizes that he is in fact in the body of an attractive girl and rushes to the bathroom. He checks himself out and is overwhelmed with lust at his new body. He then encounters a group of unattractive men who begin to flirt with him and he has to flee. While hiding out, encounters Shiraishi's friends, who inform him that they packed a lunch for Shiraishi and so they eat together. But the girls begin to giggle, and as he opens Shiraishi's notebook he finds mean words written in it. He understands as he opens her locker and a pile of garbage falls out that the girls are in fact not Shiraishi's friends. He then meets up with Shiraishi and explains what happened. Shiraishi apologizes for him having to go through that, and he realizes that this is what she goes through every day and remembers all of the times he's seen her alone. He changes his mind about switching back before school is over and say he'll deal with the girls. But Shiraishi gets angry and tells him to stay out of it. Rin spots them on the roof and begins to hassle Yamada about it. At first Yamada attempts to walk away, but Rin throws a bag at him. He decides to scare her by throwing a punch and stopping just short. But Shiraishi throws his body between them, catching the full force of the punch and getting knocked off her feet as he yells at her. Rin is terrified by the new fire burning within, who she believes to be Shiraishi, and runs away screaming. Shiraishi thanks him before they throw themselves down the stairs, only to realize that they have not changed back. After several tries, Shiraishi points out that when they fell the first time they accidentally kissed. This successfully switches them back. A white-haired boy appears at the top of the stairs. Shiraishi leaves and remarks that it's intriguing. The next day, they decide to test it, and do indeed switch bodies back again. When they kiss, Yamada wonders if Shiraishi is secretly in love with him, as she can kiss him without batting an eye. While he gets flustered every time, they decide to switch back after school again, and as Yamada is eating with Shiraishi's body, the white-haired boy, who turns out to be a student council member named Miyamura, he asks if she remembers agreeing to a date. Yamada lies, saying yes, he remembers. Miyamura goes on to ask if she was close with Yamada. As they talk, the three ugly men from earlier appear and once again fawn all over Yamada. Miyamura attempts to fight them and is easily beaten up. But as they continue to encroach on Yamada's personal space, he roundhouse kicks them, and they run off, saying they were never doing favors for people again. Miyamura then stands up and explains that it was all an act and that Shiraishi never agreed to a date, and that he recognizes the roundhouse kick. Shiraishi appears as well, having been called there by Miyamura, who asks them both to follow him. He makes them a deal. They join his club, which needs more members, and they can use the room to switch bodies as they need privacy to kiss. They swap back, and then he asks them if they have kissed anyone else. They both say they haven't. Miyamura wants to test it, and Shiraishi refuses to kiss him. So, he says he will settle for Yamada. Shiraishi holds Yamada while Miyamura kisses him, and they do in fact end up switched. They switch back, and Miyamura says he needs to find a woman who will kiss Yamada to see if it truly is anyone he kisses, that he switches with them. Shiraishi objects to this, and Yamada once again wonders if she is in love with him. She explains that if more people find out about the body switching, it could be trouble. Just as they all agree to restart the Supernatural Activities Club, a pretty girl walks in and asks to join too. Girl Itou displays a passion for supernatural things and showcases a bunch of fake supernatural things to them before leaving them all baffled. She begins to clean the club room and makes Yamada take out the trash. As he walks back from the dumpster, he sees a sign with a list of students who scored low on their exams and have to take a makeup exam. He rushes back to the club room to ask Shiraishi to switch bodies and take the exam for him. She agrees, but just before they can switch, Itou enters the room. After a montage of interruptions, Miyamura finally sends her to the student council room and Yamada kisses Shiraishi. But Itou barges in again, saying the student council room was locked. She bursts into tears, saying she will make them pay because she feels lied to. The next day, Yamada is shocked to see that Itou has spread rumors that Yamada and Shiraishi are now item. However, Rin opposes this, remembering the time when Yamada's body protected her from getting punched in the face. Yamada realizes there are even flyers about the kiss. He tries to control the damage, but Itou is adamant about destroying their reputation. However, Yamada is actually just concerned for Shiraishi as he sees her alone again in the classroom. Later, Yamada takes Itou into the Supernatural Club room and tries to provide an explanation. He prevents her from leaving until she kisses him. Immediately, Itou panics and gets flustered, but Yamada corners her and eventually kisses her. Itou, now in Yamada's body, realizes they've switched. Yamada suddenly knocks her out with a punch and immediately does damage control while in Itou's body. However, Yamada realizes that nobody actually believed it because Itou is treated as the school conspiracy chick. She's seen as a weirdo by everyone. Yamada realizes that switching bodies with Itou is actually pointless. He returns to the club room, but can't find Itou there anymore, prompting him to panic. He asks for Miyamura and Shiraishi's help in finding Yamada's body, but they don't know what happened, so they're naturally confused. Eventually, Yamada explains in the club room that he switched bodies with Itou to try and control the rumors. However, he quickly realizes that nobody believes Itou anyway. Yamada wonders why everyone is avoiding Shiraishi, so she explains that an academic test is coming soon, and she asks everyone to leave her alone. So much for trying to be a hero. Anyway, the task at hand is finding Itou in Yamada's body. Shiraishi suggests she made it out through the window, given Yamada's supernatural athletic ability. Yamada heads out of the room still trying to find Itou. Suddenly, he hears a rumor that Yamada has been staring at the mirror for ages in the bathroom. Yamada realizes Itou is a narcissist. He hears another rumor that Yamada was practicing some corny catchphrase in the hallway. Another rumor reveals that Yamada was practicing some finishing moves like a WWE character. Eventually, Miyamura fetches Yamada. He explains that Itou went off to settle some incident with Yamada's body. Through Miyamura's eager pat-down, they find that Itou has a secret phone with some threatening messages about bringing the money or else. Yamada sees a bill of the items Itou showed them earlier, indicating she might have been tricked. Shiraishi suggests that Itou bought the items with some goal in mind, citing that initially she didn't really know the club existed, but was ready with the items on hand. Figuring out something, Yamada races off. Meanwhile, Itou gets beaten up despite Yamada's supernatural fighting skills. Yamada arrives and refuses to cooperate with the punks. He throws the items back, telling them they're all fake. However, the punk reveals that Itou bought the items because she wanted to be popular in school. Yamada gets held down by the henchmen. As their leader prepares for a beatdown, Yamada hits both the henchmen, knocking them to the ground. Yamada gets rid of the leader in one swift roundhouse kick. This gets rid of the punks permanently. Later, Yamada switches bodies with Itou in the club room. She apologizes for the mess she caused, thinking she's kicked out of the club. Itou begins to walk away, but Yamada stops her. He tells her that she has to be part of the club now since she knows their secret. Itou is filled with joy. She returns to regular programming, giving Yamada various tasks. While in Shiraishi's body, Yamada kisses Miyamura. This makes Itou very happy. Yamada successfully switches with Miyamura's body, confirming that he can actually jump from body to body. Eventually, Itou joins in the fun and switches with Miyamura. She makes Yamada and Miyamura switch while they're in Itou and Shiraishi's bodies. Meanwhile, the student council talks about the supernatural club as Miyamura is supposed to run for student council president. This fires up Otajiri, who's also competing for the position. You see a blonde boy with no umbrella waiting in a doorway as chatting students walk by with umbrellas. He seems surprised to see Shiraishi walking quietly with her own umbrella. We then see the Supernatural Studies Club arguing. Because they have no funding, Itou wants to make the club room look more like a club room. But the boys have no interest in that, until Yamada decides a microwave would be good, because he would not have to eat cold lunches anymore. He drags Miyamura off to the student council president's office to get funding for a microwave. The president completely ignores Yamada, and Miyamura explains that the president completely ignores men and only listens to women. They go back and switch bodies, so that Yamada is Shiraishi and Miyamura is Itou. They attempt to flirt with him, but he knows that they're in swapped bodies. He explains that he had a theory they could do it, but that he smelled that they were not women. He agrees to give them the budget they want if they can help him convince Shiraishi to go to college, because it's a bad mark for the school's reputation if their top student doesn't go to college. As the president says this, Miyamura looks troubled. Back in their own bodies, Shiraishi calmly refuses to go to college. As they press her for more, she quickly leaves without looking back at them. Yamada can't convince Shiraishi. They're talking outside the club room when Otajiri and Ashio approach. They try to annoy them and essentially declare war. Otajiri is competing with Miyamura for the president position and has a better chance if she can get Shiraishi to go to university. Otherwise, her chances are slim. Yamada realizes that when Miyamura visited the president, he had other plans, not what they thought. He wanted to help his classmate but also the council. Everyone's dreams could come true. Yamada didn't want to get into a war with the council, but he can't back out easily. The president is very astute and could shut down the club. Yamada changes his mind and decides to play the game. At school, Shiraishi calls Yamada and requests a body switch due to her illness. Yamada realizes Shiraishi is unwell and has a fever. Seeing Yamada shivering, Miyamura offers himself to take care of Shiraishi's body, but Yamada refuses. Curious about her attendance despite her condition, Miyamura urges her to rest at her house. Back at Shiraishi's home, they discover an empty and desolate atmosphere. Inside her room, Yamada finds a photo album depicting Shiraishi's childhood. Annoyed by Miyamura and Itou snooping, he ejects them and rests as his fever escalates. A little later Shiraishi arrives and is upset by his departure. After switching back, Shiraishi reveals her drive to excel academically and the loneliness she experiences at home. Seeing her distress, Yamada returns and cares for her. He pledges to study diligently and attend college with her, a promise she accepts. The student council is impressed by the news and has agreed the Supernatural Studies Club secures its budget. We see Yamada exasperated as he has to go on the class camping trip. Shiraishi asks to switch bodies with him, and they are both happy as Shiraishi is offered tons of snacks from the other girls, while she gets to quietly study in the back-end. He finds out that she insisted they be in the same group. As he smiles at her, she throws up due to motion sickness. Shiraishi decides to rest in Yamada's room, while Yamada, still in her body, goes on a series of tiring adventures with their group. He attempts to switch back, but she requests to stay in his body a little longer to study. He goes to dinner and then Shiraishi's friends invite him to take a bath with them. Unable to switch back, he ends up getting felt up by the other girls in Shiraishi's body. Shiraishi's friends ask him why she decided to come to the events this time, when usually she skips all of them, and he leaves determined to speak to her. She admits that she had always wanted to join in, but never knew how, so she left it to him. He insists she go be social herself and switches back with her. Shiraishi had not fed his body all day, so he hungrily decides to go to the cafeteria, but Otajiri finds him along the way. It turns out that she has pictures of him rifling through Shiraishi's stuff, even though it was actually Shiraishi herself using his body, and threatens to show the whole school unless he prevents Shiraishi from taking the national mock exam. We then cut to Itou and Miyamura playing cards, while Miyamura explains that if Shiraishi doesn't take the exam, their school's worth will drop, and that his chances of being president are now directly tied to Shiraishi's academic success. He also explains that if Yamada gives in, he will be extorted by Otajiri forever. Since she will never delete the photos, he decides to switch bodies with Otajiri and delete the photos himself. He asks her to kiss him, but she says that she isn't to blame for whatever happened. Afterwards, he's shocked to find himself still in his own body as she leaves. Miyamura and Itou both kiss him and confirm he's lost his body-switching abilities. The next day, Shiraishi agrees to not take the test and tells him how much fun she had on the trip, thanks to him. She asks if the Supernatural Studies Club can go on a trip over summer break. The day of the exam arrives, and he doesn't show up. That would slow down Otajiri a bit. However, he wouldn't know if she fulfills her end of the deal and deletes the photo. He arrives at the club room. Itou and Miyamura were waiting for him. They brought him breakfast and were acting strangely. They had fallen in love with Yamada. It all started after the kiss on the field trip, right after kissing Otajiri. He had lost his power to switch bodies, but now he could make people fall in love. He kisses them again, and they return to normal. He wonders what would happen if he kisses Shiraishi. She doesn't know about the change in his power. She initially joined the club to switch bodies with Yamada. Since that wasn't possible, she thought she could stop attending. They planned to hide the truth from her until Yamada regains his powers. Yamada needed to see Otajiri to figure out what was happening. Just then, Shiraishi arrives at the club. Shiraishi wanted to switch bodies with Yamada, but he refused since he hadn't told her about his ability to resolve this. He needs to find Otajiri. He searches for her everywhere, but no one knows where she is. While walking down the hallway, he encounters 3 students planning to meet Otajiri. Yamada calls them out, but they get scared and drop the notebook containing the ranking list. He's about to follow them when Shiraishi finds him and asks if he got bored of switching with her. The scene shifts to the 3 students apologizing to Otajiri for not bringing the list. It turns out that Otajiri has the power to charm people. Otajiri is confused as to why Yamada is taking so long to find her, but Ushio suggests it might have taken him time to realize he has fallen in love with Otajiri. Moments pass and Otajiri gets furious because he still hasn't shown up yet. She thought the charm did not affect him, but it was strange because she couldn't get Yamada out of her head. She runs off to find him on her own, leaving Ushio behind. Back with Yamada, he finally tells Shiraishi everything, making her happy that he hasn't been bored. Shiraishi asks him to kiss her, which shocks him. As they kiss, they both switch bodies. Shiraishi warns him not to kiss Otajiri anymore. It's revealed that Otajiri was behind the bushes and saw them kiss. Ushio realizes he's in love with Yamada and is confused and hurt. Shiraishi explains to Yamada that Otajiri's power is to charm others, and Yamada's power is to copy. He's confused about which power he copied to switch bodies and recalls the incident where he and Shiraishi fell down the stairs. The power to switch bodies is Shiraishi's, and he's been copying and using her powers. Suddenly, Ushio kicks Yamada and becomes furious. A flashback reveals Yamada and Ushio being good friends, but gets into a fight with their schoolmates. When the teacher only punishes Yamada, he is shocked as Ushio is the witness together with Otajiri. Back in the present, they fight and Ushio remains furious about Otajiri's feelings. Shiraishi explains that for Otajiri to be free from the charm, Yamada must kiss him. Yamada initially refuses, remembering how Ushio made his life terrible. Ushio gets desperate, kneels, and even promises to delete the photos and withdraw from the student council election. Yamada and Shiraishi argue, but eventually agree for Otajiri's sake. Yamada then asks Ushio if he kissed Otajiri, and it's revealed that he did and likes who he is now. After school, they all go to the location, including Itou and Miyamura, to meet with Otajiri, requests to be left alone with Yamada, where she expresses her feelings towards him, especially when she sees him kissing Shiraishi. She asks him not to kiss her since she prefers it that way, but Yamada refuses and makes it clear he will never love her. After that, it's revealed that there are witches, and Ushio shows in Volume 1 of the 7 Wonders of Suzaku High School. Shiraishi tells Yamada that he is a witch detector and can help them find the other witches within the school. Supernatural Studies Club is having a blast at the beach. It's their summer retreat, and instead of having fun, Yamada and the rest of the students are having their supplementary exams. There he meets the overly shy and quiet Otsuka Mako. After they all fail the exam, Yamada approaches his friends and vents about his plans to study throughout the entire summer when Shiraishi offers to switch bodies with him. This leads to him having the best day at the beach with Itou and Miyamura. Meanwhile, during a discussion, the other students are amazed by Yamada's insights, not realizing that it's Shiraishi in his body. After the discussion, Shiraishi and Otsuka are only ones left in the room. Shyly, Otsuka asks Shiraishi to be her friend, and Shiraishi agrees in a playful gesture of friendship. She suddenly kisses her, mistaking her for Yamada. Later in their room, Shiraishi switches bodies with Yamada and asks him about his relationship with Otsuka, including whether he has kissed her before, but Yamada declines it. They find it strange that their kiss didn't trigger a body switch, leading them to believe that Otsuka might also be a witch. Shiraishi doesn't want to get involved with Otsuka's powers and insists that Yamada figure it out on his own. Yamada contemplates what spell Otsuka might have used on him. Otsuka eventually talks to him and apologizes for the confusion. She didn't realize the spell hadn't worked, but she left a cryptic message about passing the exam together after the exam finishes. Yamada approaches Otsuka asking about the kiss, but she runs away after saying that Yamada is different from yesterday. Later on, Yamada is surprised to find Otajiri and Ushio in their room, searching for Volume 2 of a book. This book won't become visible until after the supplementary exams are completed, motivating everyone to pass the exams. Yamada and Shiraishi's body is taking a bath alone when Otajiri joins him and gets too close to him. Yamada tries to avoid her by finishing his bath immediately, but Otajiri notices that he acts differently and realizes that he's Yamada, much to her embarrassment. Outside, Shiraishi in Yamada's body informs that Otsuka is now ready to kiss Yamada, and they switch back. Yamada meets Otsuka in person and kisses her, then attempts the same with Itou and Miyamura with no results that evening, while the boys are sleeping. Yamada hears a voice calling his name, waking him up. He realizes it's Otsuka's voice. She's using telepathy to communicate with him and reveals her unique power. Otsuka asks for his help to pass the exams and shares her concerns about her outward appearance differing from her telepathic voice. They decide to use telepathy to help each other through the exams. Despite resorting to some cheating, they manage to pass the exams by using their powers, which leaves them drained. The Supernatural Studies Club is now allowed to continue, but their possessions are mysteriously discarded by someone, as everyone is not sure if the book is really in the location. They decide to just enjoy their last day of the trip instead. Yamada realizes that the witches gain their powers through wishing. Shiraishi could switch bodies because of her loneliness. Otajiri gained charm to become student council president, and Otsuka, who struggles with communication, acquired telepathy. However, Yamada is left wondering what he wished for to find answers. He is determined to save all the witches at their school. That is when he had just told the news from Otsuka about who the next witch was. A week after vacation, something terrible happens. Yamada goes with Miyamura to Maria Sarashima's house. She's the next witch Otajiri's group was investigating her on. Their own, they help her remodel her room, and she falls asleep in the living room. Yamada tries to kiss her to discover her power. When he's close to her, whispers for him to help her. Yamada asks Miyamura to leave them alone. Sarashima has the power to see the future. Yamada doesn't believe her. Everything is fine until one day she sees the old school building on fire. She was responsible for the fire in that future, which is why she decided to lock herself in her house. In the vision, Yamada was with her and was blamed for starting the fire. She didn't want to meet Yamada, but the future doesn't change that easily. She knew he would look for her. Yamada kissed her. He wanted to understand her powers. Otajiri knew she was a witch. Yamada tells his friends about his powers and about the fire. They need to find the real culprit. Yamada can see himself in Sarashima's future predictions exactly as Sarashima does. Shiraishi explains what she has understood so far. She sees the future from the perspective of the person she kisses. Yamada realizes that there was someone else in the fire, and Sarashima confirms it. She kissed her friend right before that happened. Yamada decides to look for him to get information. Kentaro Tsubaki was the person he was looking for. He finds him and they go to a cafe to talk. Tsubaki confesses that he was in love with Shiraishi, the only girl who ignored him. He asks Yamada to set up a date with her, and Yamada agrees. Tsubaki goes with Yamada to the old school building to show him one of his hobbies. They enter the cooking room and Tsubaki prepares food for Yamada to seal their friendship. Yamada has no doubts. He believes that Tsubaki is responsible for the fire. Yamada tells his friends about it. The fire would happen at night. He can see the future again, and it shows a meeting with Sarashima and Tsubaki. He'll try to change the future. Shiraishi doesn't show up for the date. Yamada asks Tsubaki to kiss him, but he refuses. Miyamura tries to help, but they end up forcibly taking Tsubaki. However, Tsubaki is very strong and beats them up. Their plan doesn't work. Sarashima knew that she would fail. She goes to the club room and Itou kisses her and tells her everything. She meets Yamada's friends. Yamada switches bodies with Shiraishi and meets with Tsubaki. The future vision indicates the time of the fire. Yamada has to keep Tsubaki occupied during that time. He goes shopping with Tsubaki and Sarashima calls him. The future isn't changing, it's getting worse. Miyamura has a plan to postpone Tsubaki's love confession. Yamada tries to implement the plan, but Tsubaki insists and shouts his confession. Shiraishi intervenes, comes closer and kisses Yamada right in front of Tsubaki, making him believe that they're together. Shiraishi complicates things and Tsubaki runs to the old school building depressed. Yamada follows him and kisses him. After Shiraishi distracts him, changing the future. The boys celebrate. Tsubaki wants to join the club. Sarashima talks to Yamada privately, thanking him for everything. She confesses that Shiraishi switched bodies with Yamada to avoid being blamed for the fire. Yamada is shocked. Yamada talks to Shiraishi, expresses his concern, and she smiles before leaving. Itou talks to the boys and realizes Sarashima's power a bit late. The club investigates the troublesome actions of the first-year students and a girl named Takegawa Noa, who can see the past of whoever she kisses. However, Shiraishi becomes curious about how the president knows everything, as he had hold of Volume 2. When the club's storage room was empty, it turns out Noa is responsible for this. Yamada then meets with the first-year students and talks with Noa, but she flirts with him instead. Because of that, he dares her to kiss him, but she finds him annoying and disgusting, so she leaves him, eager for her attention. Yamada tells her that he has a thing for witches. Noa suddenly drags him into a room and attempts to kiss him, but he realizes something is off and refuses. Back in school, Tsubaki is panicking as he calls out Yamada and Miyamura, and they discover that someone has ransacked their club room, with the volume of one book missing, as suspected. Noa had asked 3 students to retrieve the book for her. Yamada then confronts Harem, the student council president, and he reveals that Noa's objective is to eradicate the witches from the school. Harem reminds Yamada that students with troubles obtain the witches' powers. Noa uses this opportunity to see the past of the other troubled students, and commit bad deeds without arousing suspicion to inherit every power. Now that Noa has obtained all the volume books, her next target is the rest of the witches. Yamada informs the Supernatural Studies Club about her plans and his intention to set a trap for Noa. While the other club members disagree, Shiraishi agrees with his plan, but Miyamura suggests a better idea. One of the problematic students finds Shiraishi in a room and kisses her, resulting in them switching bodies. However, their attempt fails as Shiraishi switches with Yamada and traps them. 3 of the club members go to see Noa, using the bodies of the 3 problematic students. Noa is aware that it's them. She offers to release the students in exchange for the notebook. But Yamada's priority isn't the notebook. It's preventing her from expelling the other students. When he returns, the rest of the club members are furious as he missed the opportunity. But his goal is to stop Noa from doing harmful things. Instead of charming the 3 students, they request them to ask Noa to not pursue the witches anymore, and she consents. Yamada then confronts her about her control over the school, even over the 3 students she used. This offends her and she kisses him, revealing her traumatic past when she got locked in the storage room for hours, and her friends were wrongly accused. Yamada encourages her, pledging to help her and her friends, and Noa pleads for his assistance. Outside, Noa tells Yamada that she wants her friends to go back to normal. But suddenly Keigo attacks him. Enraged, Yamada kicks him and tells the 3 students to stop being problematic, and instead thinks about how to make Noa happy. In the end, Noa undergoes a positive change, getting along well with the others, particularly with Yamada. School is hosting an event with various booths. There, Ushio tries a booth about fortunes run by Yamada using Sarashima's power. Yamada predicts Ushio's future, where he will have an indirect kiss with Otojiri. Thanks to their powers, they manage to sell the yakisoba breads, and Sarashima seeks Yamada's advice about the possibility of erasing her powers, because she wishes to experience love. At the library, Yamada visits Tamaki Shinichi to request a favor involving someone who wants their powers erased. Tamaki is curious about how Yamada knows about him, and assumes referring to Noa. Tamaki's ability is to steal the power of a specific witch by kissing them. During their walk, Tamaki demonstrates his stolen witch ability to Yamada, when he kisses someone and he becomes invisible to that person. Yamada needs Tamaki's help desperately, but Tamaki finds it irritating, so he kisses Yamada, thinking he will disappear from his sight. This action convinces Tamaki that Yamada is a witch killer like him, as witches' powers don't work on them. Tamaki agrees to speak with Yamada and establish a deal to gather information on who will become the next president, and in return he will erase the power of the witch in question. Yamada enters the student council room as part of his plan. He meets Haruma and using Otajiri's charm power, he attempts to kiss the present to gain information. However, his secretary is prepared and stops Yamada. While tied up, Haruma questions Yamada's motive for trying to kiss him. Yamada admits to wanting to help a witch erase her powers, leading to Asuka Mikoto. His secretary is a former witch whose powers of invisibility have been erased. Haruma shares information about Tamaki and proposes a game to reevaluate him as the next presidential candidate. There are currently 6 witches at the school, and Haruma wants to find the 7th to complete the group. Tamaki is uncertain about erasing Sarashima's power, which could cause changes. However, he promises to keep his end of the bargain once they find the 7th witch. Sarashima thanks Yamada for helping her and kisses him in gratitude. Yamada has a vision showing that Tamaki has indeed erased Sarashima's powers. Yamada informs Miyamura about this development and their decision to go witch hunting. Yamada describes the vision he had that Tamaki becomes the president and Shiraishi as his secretary, leading him to realize his feelings for her. They compile a list of possible students who could be the 7th witch. During their search, Shiraishi senses that Yamada has a specific reason for doing this, but she informs him that she can wait to hear the reason when he's ready. Yamada eventually realizes that Tamaki has used his power on Miyamura, Itou, and Tsubaki without them knowing, so he kisses them back. They plan to switch bodies to outsmart Tamaki and thwart his plans. As Shiraishi and Yamada switch, he confesses what he saw about her. He expresses that he doesn't want her to change and wishes to prevent her from returning to her old sad self. Shiraishi reassures Yamada that she doesn't want to go back to the past and encourages him to alter the future. Boys gather and Tamaki was hiding in the room eavesdropping. They still haven't found the 7th witch. However, Miyamura didn't mention that his sister was in her 3rd year at the school. Maybe she knew something about the witch. She stopped going to school because of the 7th witch. They went to talk to her for information, but Leona Miyamura wasn't in the mood. Yamada forcibly kisses her and they switch bodies. Leona gets angry with her brother for getting involved with the witches. Yamada tries to blackmail Leona while controlling her body, but it doesn't work. Yamada begs for her help. Yamada tells Leona everything that's happening. In short, he was looking for her to save the girl he likes. Leona agrees to help but warns him that the 7th witch was very special. She would prevent him from seeing Shiraishi again, or at least not in the same way. Yamada would be in danger if she found out his identity. He would lose all memories of the other witches. Leona had been hiding from her. She barely managed to escape, but her partner investigating with her wasn't as lucky. However, Yamada decides to accept. Yamada tells his friends since he would lose his memory, they need to talk to him again about the witches and integrate him into the club. His friends agree. Yamada tells the president the identity of the 7th witch. Rika Seonji already knew her identity and was testing Yamada abilities. He keeps his promise. Miyamura will be the next president. He needs to be careful with the 7th witch. If something happens, the president could help him. He returns to his body, and Shiraishi wants to be the first person to kiss Yamada if he loses his memory. Yamada thought it was all over, but while he's alone, Seonji appears before Yamada. She's very perverted, takes off her gloves, touches Yamada's face, casts her spell. They didn't need to kiss. She leaves a note with spell precautions and leaves. The spell takes 24 hours to take effect. If something unusual happens, he needs to go to the council. After the agreed time passes, Yamada doesn't lose his memories. However, when he visits his friends, they'd have lost their memories. They'd forgotten Yamada. Yamada visits the president, explains that they had to take measures since witches' powers didn't affect him. The school rules dictate that only the president can know the identities of the 7 witches. They need to protect the school's order. Haruma apologizes to Yamada. Tamaki remembers Yamada. He's also immune to his power. He proposes an alliance to overthrow the president. All the problems stem from him. Tamaki was spying on Yamada while he was with Seonji. She discovers it and uses her power on him. The whole school has forgotten Tamaki. Tamaki did what the president ordered him to do, erased Asuka's powers. All for the position, but he was deceived. Shiraishi talks to Yamada when she went to the club. She wondered if he wanted to join. She invites him, but he declines. She smiles kindly. Yamada asks her out, but she's in love with someone else. Yamada doesn't give up easily, starts looking for the person she likes. Itou tells him it's probably Miyamura since the accident that initially involved Yamada got distorted with him. He wants to recover Shiraishi's memories. He talks to the president for help, but he has more serious problems. The witches who forgot Yamada have returned to how they were, even worse. Yamada changed them. His presidency is about to end. He's busy. They leave, and Yamada talks to Otajiri. He knows Haruma rejected him and she offers to help using her power. But she only wants to benefit herself. Yamada decides to copy her power and make things easier with Shiraishi. He kisses her in the courtyard. Right at that moment, Shiraishi sees them kiss and he tries to explain, but she claims it doesn't concern her. She confesses that she likes someone else, but feels something is amiss and doesn't understand. Yamada reveals everything to Shiraishi about their lost memories, as Shiraishi cannot remember herself as a witch. Yamada tries to prove it by kissing her. But she refuses. Shiraishi points out that what Yamada said was all true, as other club members have been busy in the past few days, neglecting the Supernatural Studies Club. Yamada worries that if this continues, they will all drift apart, breaking Shiraishi's heart. Back at school, he talks with Miyamura, which leads to an unexpected kiss. The power of charm affects him, but it backfires, so he kisses him back. Yamada is planning how he can talk with Leona again. While talking to Tamaki, Otajiri suddenly barges in and kisses Yamada. Furious that he used his power of copy, her memory suddenly returns, and they figure out that when he kisses the witches, their memories come back. Otajiri demands an explanation, which Yamada provides, and before she departs, Yamada gives her a charming smile, flustering her. Otajiri meets with Ushio and she releases him from being charmed. But even though Ushio is not charmed anymore, he is still in love with Otajiri. Ushio asks if that's what she wants, and she is determined not to manipulate others anymore. Meanwhile, Yamada is frustrated about how to kiss Shiraishi when suddenly Seonji barges in. She reveals that no one should know the name of the seventh witch, because when the 7 witches are gathered they can grant any wishes. Yamada tells this to Otajiri, assuming that Haruma must have known her memories came back. Otajiri thinks her memories may be disappearing soon, and tells him to find her as soon as possible. Yamada refuses and decides to do it his way. However, the next day, it turns out that Otajiri still remembers everything, making the 7th witch worried. She consults with the Haruma, worried that her powers didn't affect Yamada. Tamaki, Yamada, and Otajiri meet up in a storage room, and Yamada mentions that when the 7 witches are gathered, all their wishes will come true. Otajiri suddenly remembers a place from a year ago where she was with all the witches, but she doesn't remember it well. To bring back the memories, she suggests it's time to gather the 7 witches together. The student council makes their move, announcing the kissing bandit as Yamada. As rumors spread, Shiraishi asks him about it, and even invites him to walk home with her. While walking, Shiraishi tells him that Miyamura is leaving the club, as the student council is electing him as the next president. It makes her sad, and Yamada continues to encourage her. As Yamada is about to leave, Shiraishi permits him to kiss her, believing it will change something. However, Asuka is always watching him. Meanwhile, Otajiri finds the room where they are gathered, and Haruma shows up. Haruma proposes a deal to stop Yamada from gathering the 7 witches, but she declines. Haruma knows that Otajiri is in love with Yamada, but she's still eager to help him, even knowing that Yamada's feeling for Shiraishi won't change. The plan works, and they bring back their memories. They only need 2 of the witches, Shiraishi and Seonji. It is also revealed that Seonji is still a mystery, as no one in the school knows her, and she wasn't registered anywhere. At that moment, an assembly is happening, and they think that's where they will do it. Yamada finds himself begging Shiraishi to kiss him, and Otajiri asks for Seonji's help, but she refuses. Just as Yamada is about to kiss Shiraishi, he realizes that Shiraishi and Asuka, the secretary, have switched. Yamada confronts Haruma, and he explains that Shiraishi has been suspended for being seen kissing on school grounds. Yamada visits Miyamura despite him not remembering him. However, Miyamura's sister does remember him and invites him over. Leona points out that his plan to bring Shiraishi back is futile, but she notices something peculiar about the ceremony. Just then, Otajiri and Tamaki barge in to talk to Leona, believing she can help them by convincing Seonji. Leona explains that Tamaki is not a witch himself, but got invited, suspecting that it might return power to the rightful owner. Seonji, a powerful witch, is hard to confront due to her close relationship with Haruma. On their way back, Miyamura stops Yamada and thanks him for making his sister laugh after a long time. They confront Seonji about her relationship with Haruma and propose letting Asuka and Shiraishi switch body. Yamada reveals how Haruma doesn't trust Seonji, using them all, especially her. But Seonji recounts her struggles with people not noticing or remembering her name because of her witch power, except for Haruma. Yamada reassures her that the 3 of them remember her name, ending her isolation. Seonji agrees to help under the condition that Leona participates, since she was not able to erase her memory despite knowing Seonji's name. Leona anticipates Seonji's condition and reveals her past as a member of the Supernatural Studies Club. The club sought witches, eventually leading Haruma to forget Leona due to discovering the 7th witch's name. Leona aims to face her fears, return to school, and confront Seonji to join the ceremony. Before losing her memories, she bids farewell to Haruma, revealing his unexpected emotional reaction. The group successfully ties up Asuka after attacking her. Yamada and Miyamura visit Asuka's house, where Shiraishi confirms Yamada's claims with everyone gathered. The ceremony begins without Haruma, who later arrives and supports it. He admits not knowing how he became a student council president, but he realizes that Seonji could erase memories, but not their feelings. Yamada leads the ceremony with the witches. As he opens his eyes, time slows down, and Seonji tells him to wish for their memories to go back. The ceremony begins with Seonji kissing Yamada, and the sky shines brightly. The next day, upon entering the club room, everyone remembers Yamada, making him emotional. There, Yamada has something important to say and waits for everyone to arrive. Yamada reveals that he didn't wish for their memories to return, but instead to vanish the witch's power in their school. Everyone is happy with the result, and they celebrate their success. On the rooftop, Shiraishi apologizes to Yamada for not kissing him first, when she had lost her memories. But Yamada immediately confesses his feelings to Shiraishi and asks her out. Shiraishi accepts him and kisses him awkwardly.